and most of them are regular.
And I'm going to ask the clerk if he would kindly call the roll and give us established quorum and the public statement.
Yeah, all right. Sean Laloe. Rena Telemontes.
Here.
Katie Valenzuela.
Here.
Katie Maple.
Here.
Mai Vang. Phil Cerna. Patrick Kennedy. Rich Desmond. Sue Frost.
Here.
Pat Hume. Mary Jane Lopez Taff. Rod Brewer. Kevin Spees.
Present.
Sean Farmer. Garrett Gatewood.
Here.
Lisa Kaplan. Noel Mora. Bina Lefkovich.
Here.
Saul Hernandez.
Here.
Jennifer Larrett.
Here.
Porsche Middleton. Sergio Robles. Linda Budge. All right, this meeting of the Sacramento Public Library is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T UVerse cable systems. This meeting is closed captioned and live streamed at metro14live.saccounty.net. Today's meeting will be repeated Saturday, October 21st at 4 p.m. on channel 14 and can also be viewed on Metro Cable 14's YouTube channel. The meeting will also be recorded via Zoom. A DVD copy will be available upon request no later than 2 weeks following today's meeting. The full agenda, including reports, is available on the library website at www.saclibrary.org. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should complete a speaker identification form located at the back table and give it to the clerk. Members attending via Zoom should raise their hand in the Zoom program. Please speak clearly when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard.
Great, thank you. And I also want to just make note that Director Cerna just arrived. And I wonder if Director Brewer would mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
It will be my pleasure. And over your heart, ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, item number 2, public comments not on the agenda. Do we have any?
No comments.
Okay, thank you. And so we'll move on to item number 3, presentations. And our first presentation is from the Friends of the Sacramento Public Library. They must be online, perhaps. Or maybe not. Why don't we move forward and to item 3.2, equity update presentation, and maybe we can come back to the Friends at a later time if they arrive. Maybe you can let me know, Peter, if they arrive. Good morning, good afternoon. Good.
Okay, sorry. Good afternoon. Oh. Thank you. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Leanna Acevedo, and I'm a public services manager with the Sacramento Public Library.
I'm going to continue with the good morning. So my name is Vanessa. I also go by Chacha Centeno. I'm the equity system supervisor for Sacramento Public Library. And thank you for being here and hearing us today.
Well, sorry. I forgot this was up here. So today we just wanted to give you a brief overview of some of the equity work that we've been doing within the Sacramento Public Library. And since September 2021, the Sacramento Public Library we implemented a mandatory DEIA training for all staff that was built on the GARE, or the Government Alliance on Race and Equity framework. And so I know all of you are familiar with it, as the city is part of the GARE membership and the county is seeking membership with GARE currently. So this is the framework that we use within the library. And we have to say that the feedback from the staff has been extremely positive to this framework and the training that we have given. And so out of 295 staff members that participated in the post survey, 282 strongly agreed that they understood the importance of EDI work that they do, and that 282 strongly agreed that they understood that everyone has bias and how it impacts the work that they do. 262 staff members agreed or strongly agreed that they felt comfortable taking action to advance equity, diversity, inclusion at work. And we just wanted to thank Ami Zenzele Barnes from the city of Sacramento, who actually allowed us to piggyback off the city's membership into the GARE network. Another framework that we use in our equity work is actually the GDEIB, which is the Global Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Benchmarks. We are looking to create benchmarks of our own, specifically for Sacramento Public Library. Yeah.
All right. So the benchmarks of our own, we wanted to strengthen inclusion and accessibility in the benchmarks. Libraries are also unique. So what we're doing is we're looking at IFLA, so the International Federations of Library Associations and Institutions. They have a disability audit checklist. So we're going through that to make sure that it's represented in the benchmarks that we are custom making. We're also using the Inclusive Services Assessment and Guide. It was originally developed for the Wisconsin public libraries, but the model can be adapted and they encourage it to be used by other public library systems. Another one that we are looking to is a library environmental scan, and it comes from Targeting Autism in Libraries. If you recall, years ago, we were doing a lot of sensory programming. Our amazing staff were going out and training other people on sensory programming. That's where that originated from. So we are still holding on to those hopes, I should say. Thank you.
So after the library board approved our equity statement, which holds us accountable to the equity work that we do, not only for ourselves as an organization, but for our communities, we actually implemented culture surveys, and we are on our third iteration of the culture survey. And so from that, we received a lot of feedback from staff on some of the pieces that they saw us lacking or things that we needed to work on within the organization. And the cultural survey is actually broken down into these categories, which really measures organizational culture, staff engagement, and belonging. And then in the second iteration of the culture survey, we added neurodiversity and disability because we saw that that was lacking in the original survey. So we were able to get a lot of staff feedback off of the survey. And so from that survey, we've been able to do some changes or some additional work. And the great thing about the survey is it really does help us hold ourselves accountable. And so we were able to actually see from the first survey to the second survey that there was a 50% increase overall in culture improvement that the staff saw. And what we were able to do is really focus on continued learning, communication, change, and really integrating equity work across the organization. So some of the things that we have been working on from the culture survey that can really be seen besides the back end work that we're doing as an organization is that we have social work interns, which is the next presentation, so I won't talk about that too much. And then we also have the ILA translation tablets that we are piloting. And so these tablets are two-faced tablets that basically they come with I believe it's over 70 languages within it, and it's all verbal. And it has tons of different dialects. So even if you go into Spanish, it has well over 30 different dialects of Spanish. And so we're piloting this in our branches to see if it'll help us with that communication gap that sometimes we see. And then the other piece is Superfest, which is our disability film showcase that, as you all know, this big Superfest is at San Francisco, but we have showcases here in Sacramento, and we've had, I think we're going on our 5th year. And we're actually going to expand that, where usually we have one big showcase in January. Now we're going to try to do it basically regionally within our branches throughout the year to really focus on that diversity and inclusion.
That will also bring visibility, in my words. The other response that we had is we started having equity conversations. And what they are is it's basically DEIA, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility dialogue. We want to normalize it. And that is going back to GARE's framework, the normalized component. So we want to normalize it outside of siloed spaces. We want to be able to know how to communicate with one another, how to have those really hard conversations respectfully as well. And as a response, they actually support work culture, relationship building, heart-to-heart connection, and they emphasize stories and experiences. They are structured to be intersectional, empathetic, and empowering, and they're open to all. So we want everyone to learn and grow in language, practices, and awareness. Yeah, they're modeled off of, go to the next one. Thank you. So the model is adapted from the Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation, otherwise known as TRHT. All right, there goes my disability showing. I mixed up the letters. So it's based off of this framework, which focuses on systemic transformation. TRHT started in 2016, and it focuses on truth-telling, trust, and relationship building. It was initiated by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. The framework itself was put together by 176 leaders and scholars and over 144 organizations. So it is overseen by me. I am a racial healing circle practitioner. I've been working with TRHT since 2018. And again, this is an adapted model that we're using. So when I first got engaged with it, I was working as a library advisor through the American Library Association. And I was working on a project called Deeper Than Our Skins. The present is a conversation with the past. So that's sort of my engagement with that. Next one. All right. Go ahead and go back. I'm not done yet. All right. So an example of how the model has been adapted to uniquely fit staff and SPL, including our geographical differences, is over time, the staff has changed this learning agreement. Acknowledge diverse linguistic and social needs. Some cultures speak from an I, we, and you perspective. Acknowledge these truths and make space for these experiences. And this learning agreement really kept coming up. And I have a story that really highlights it for me. Before my position now, I worked at the Colonial Heights Library. I was a librarian there, and I am Indigenous. And I had someone from my community, and we were talking, and I was using the I statements that TRHT says you're supposed to use. And the elder looked at me and was like, but we're a we. And it was really just a cultural difference for me. And so I would have to communicate with my community with that cultural we, us. And then I would turn around and talk to the library, and I would flip and I would use I. And then sometimes I was a bridge to explain that to people. So this is where this learning agreement came from. The reason I focus on we is it's part of what we call the 7 generations, where we're responsible. And we say that when harm has been done, it will take 7 generations to heal. I really am appreciative for the county holding the Racial Equity Summit. During the panel, someone actually got up and spoke to this. For me, it's accountability. It's also making sure that we're taking care of our community, everybody's community, not just mine, my culture. It's everybody who comes together. All right. Oh, I'm stepping. Is it my turn? No, not yet. Okay. Still me. All right. So over the past 12 months, we've held system-wide equity conversations. These are voluntary. They started in October of 2022. So far, we've had 180 participants, and we have 19 trained equity facilitators. They're at different levels of experience in that facilitation. So they're learning right along those who participate. They're getting to know the language, they're getting to know the skills, and also some of the challenges. And this is some anonymous feedback that we've received. This is from participants. So, quote, "These conversations help me expand my worldview. They also help me find my voice professionally. Understanding myself, my colleagues, and organizational culture will help me make me a better, more empathetic, and effective communicator." Next is, "Thank you for creating a place for staff to feel heard and seen. Even if they aren't ready to share their stories or may not share their stories, they have a place to feel they can. Thank you for having these discussions and opening them to everyone. I'm still gathering up my own courage to speak. Being vulnerable has never been easy for me, but the space that everyone has created has felt so warm and friendly and open. I look forward to future conversations." Insert smiley face. My biggest takeaway from my session is that we as an organization need to take a more proactive role in reaching out and supporting our BIPOC coworkers. And BIPOC stands for Black, Indigenous, People of Color. It's not enough to have an open door policy / willingness to speak with staff when they come to us. We need to go to them. And I want to say thank you to our current administrations because they have been going to us. So, all right, I'm going to keep going. I think these conversations are necessary in helping BIPOC have a safe space. And those that want to be allies can ask questions on how to be better allies. Well, valuable. Would like to see additional sessions with admin included. Team would benefit. SPL culture would benefit. 2 of our facilitators have volunteered to give us some reflections. Our equity conversations that we have held throughout the system have helped me build human connections. Although the work can be emotionally difficult at times, this work is necessary for change. And then the last one. I appreciate that we now have multiple pathways to become equitable in different areas of the library. The small group, multi-level conversations around equity topics have also made staff closer and improved both morale and understanding.
And so a lot of the work that we have done has been internally focused, and it's been internally focused for a reason. We want to make sure that our staff have the tools and resources they need in order to be able to then turn outward. And this does not happen in a silo. It has to be integrated within the entire organization. And so our equity newsletters are usually co-written with the different departments. So we have written a newsletter with IT on redlining, on digital divide. We have written a newsletter with our community engagement services, talking about outreach and cultural engagement. So it's across all levels within the organization that we really try to make sure that this is integrated within. And our Deputy Director for Public Services, Kathy Crossway, has been really great. They have taken the facilitation training and have actually done some of the equity conversations along with us. And they have really turned into a big advocate for the work within the organization.
So we held a summer of virtual conversations that were themed. We wanted to build psychological safety. And Kathy really shared what it was like learning about the concept, learning the language, seeing how it applies to library work as well as personal life. So yeah.
And so we just wanted to share some of the work that we've been doing internally before we turn outward and make sure that we are in a good place for us to turn outward.
So staff is part of the community.
Yes, when we say community, we include everyone, especially our staff, because they usually are working within their own communities. So we want to acknowledge that.
Well, thank you, Leanna and Cha-Cha. Your work is very important, and it looks like you've covered a lot of ground. I know I have some questions, but before I move into my questions, Director Maple has some comments.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Well, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you I keep saying new, but I guess I've been on this board for almost a year now or getting close to that. So a newer-ish member of the board. I wasn't aware of this work being done. So really exciting to hear about what you've been up to. And this is really important work. It's work that the city of Sacramento is embarking on as well. And I met just yesterday with one of the groups that we're working with called Race Forward, which they're doing great work. And so I just had one general question, which is there any kind of mandatory DEI training for employees right now in the library system?
So we actually have two. We have one that is basically the GARE training, which is Race Forward. And so we have that training, and we also have a training with Freedom Justice, which is yeah, which is Mia Henry, which is very library focused. Because the GARE training, we actually did take it and make it our own, and we infused Sacramento history within it, and we infused library history within it. Yeah. So the Mia Henry training is social justice in libraries. And so we have two current mandatory trainings, and both trainings have had nothing but positive feedback from staff.
Oh, wow. That is really cool. And in fact, my conference just got me, because I'm a history nerd. And so in my conversations with Race Forward yesterday, one of the things that we talked about was how do we maybe utilize something like the Center for Sacramento History to make sure we're incorporating really specific information about not just what's happened from a national perspective, which is normally what we learn about, right, in school, but what happened here and how did those things impact how the community perceives things now. And so anyway, just really want to congratulate you on this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Maple. Director Lefkowitz.
Yeah, thank you also for this report. And I'm relatively new to the library board, and was really excited to hear, I have a passion around this. So well timed. For me, this is partly personal because even though looking at me, you wouldn't know it, but my family is very diverse. And the other is 78% of our kids in our state are young people of diversity. Kids of color. So I wear an education hat, so that makes this conversation even very relevant to me. I had two maybe questions, comments. This is maybe a little externally focused, but when I think of diversity, equity, and inclusion, two things come to mind for me. One is, what data are we collecting? And I know that we don't ask people their demographic data when we get their library cards, but I do think it's really important to know with data, like who is using our libraries, who is not, on our youth programming, what youth are coming and participating in our programs. I think that would be important data. So I wanted to put a plug in for that. And then the other thing for me that's really important is the books we have in our library. And I wouldn't ask for you to go backwards, but as you move forward purchasing new books, just, I don't know if it's possible to get a report or just to be really mindful and be able to say to us, our purchases we're very mindful, and this is how we are reflecting our students, because our young people, they need to see themselves, right, in the literature they see, in the teachers that they work with, and the staff that they interact with. So I just wanted to put that out there. I don't know if you want to comment on any of that, but.
Thank you for everything. Qualitative and quantitative data is what we're looking at. So I mentioned I'm Native. Last time I filled out the census, I was actually able to put my tribe down. My spouse is indigenous to what we now call Mexico, and he was able to put his tribe down. So it's more than just the box demographics that we're given. It's actually taking time to sit and see the people and ask them for their views, for who they are, for their histories. And our histories are so intersectional. You know, we have a human rights, we have what it's like to be human, and that is often where we connect with one another. So I want to say yes. I, for one, am being very careful with the data we're selecting, how we use it. I'm looking at who developed the framework for it. I'm looking at the language they used, the permission of the community to gather it, if they're involved in how it's being presented. And as seeing each other, seeing yourself in literature, we've done a phenomenal job at SPL. Before becoming a supervisor, I was technically a youth librarian. I would go out into the schools, and we always had books that reflected the youth that were there. I personally have experience working with the American Indian Youth Literature Award, and there's a number of other staff who have championed making sure that voices are heard. I do that with literature, but for me also oral tradition or oral stories are also just as valid. So being able to have those in spaces as well is really important.
Chair Frost, if I may also.
Yes.
Director Lefkowitz, we also have our vendors that we purchase books for do provide reports to us on the diversity of the materials we're buying and what our current collection makeup is, and they can identify gaps, and we routinely look at those to make sure that we're filling those gaps, both electronically and in print. So we try very hard to make sure that we're doing the best we can. So we appreciate you asking, and we'll keep doing the good work. Yeah.
Thank you. Vice Chair Talamantes.
Thank you, Chair. One, proud to have you as an employee of the Sacramento Public Library. I hope you retire with us. And two, just thank you for sharing about you. You know, one of the most important things that we could do in equity is be vulnerable and, you know, providing that safe space for others. And it sounds like you're doing a tremendous job. And I just want to say, keep up the good work. Proud to have you.
Nice. Thank you. And I wonder if there are any directors online who have their hands raised. I see a hand raised, but I don't know if I'm recognizing the person. You're not? Okay. Okay. Well, I had a couple of questions that I wanted to ask you. I was really interested in the ILA tablets, and I wanted to ask you how you, I'm sure you don't have as many of those as you wish you had, and so how you disperse them and use them within the library system. That's super exciting.
So we actually have one per region. So we have 6 regions. We have one per region that we just purchased, one per region. We piloted the first tablet at the North Highlands Branch Library to see how that would go. There were some things that we can tweak, but overall, we think it's a tool that we find it's going to be necessary in order for us to, because we have a bilingual list, we can call those folks up and say, hey, can you help with this conversation? But to have something that's at the branch that they can utilize would be easiest.
So you're using it like, not for people to have conversations between people, but as an interpreter so that you can interpret what they're trying to ask on a phone call or on a walk-in.
It's
question?
in person. It's
okay.
2 tablets that are, one is facing you, one is facing the individual, and you just press the button, you speak, and then they choose the language that is their language, and it'll speak back in their language.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And so in theory, you could have one of those in every library, and we could let all the different communities and immigrant and refugee communities know. Many of them come and they don't know the language yet, but they're working on it. It might make it easier for them.
Yes, that's the hope.
That's great. The GARES and the TRHT framework, is it possible? Is there a book we can read to learn more about those, or information you can send us so if we wanted to just better understand how that framework works and the communication structure that it's unrolling?
Yeah, they're both available online and we can share the links.
Yeah, we'll make sure that it gets into the board members by the end of the week.
Okay, and my final question was, I was curious on the BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, if you found that your efforts around that are actually impacting, you know, maybe others like refugees who might feel really alone, or I know we are the most diverse region, I think, in the nation. At least we were a decade ago. I'm pretty sure we probably still are. So this is reaching people of all colors. Am I understanding it correctly? The name leads me to believe, to not quite understand the focus. Is the focus go beyond to every color, or does it just go to Black and Indigenous people?
The work is for everyone. And that's basically what we say every time we present. The work is for everyone. Right now, our work is internally focused to make sure that our staff has the tools and resources that they need so that when they do engage with our communities, that they have that training in place. So what we are aiming for is to make sure that our libraries truly stand with our mission and values of being a welcoming and inclusive space for all. And when we say all, we mean all. Like, we do equity check-ins with our locations. We've been going out to the different locations, and we've had very transparent conversations where someone was like, I didn't know this work was for me. I didn't know how I fit in, and now I do. And they show appreciation. Because we say we need all voices at the table. We need all perspectives. This cannot happen in a silo. It has to be really everyone involved.
Yeah, that's really great. I think your work is really important. I think it was probably a decade or two ago that there was a study that came out of Berkeley that talked about how our region is the most diverse. We dwell really well together, but we don't side by side together, but not together. And so I think hopefully your work will help us to improve our relationships with each other and celebrate each other more. So thank you so much. I don't see any other questions online or at the dais. And I don't know if there's any public comment regarding this item. No public comment. Okay. Well, thank you so much for an exciting report. Or were you finished, or?
We do have one video.
Oh, okay. Sorry, we
actually,
interrupted you. We had so much to talk about.
But one's for a different section of the agenda. So
okay.
We just have one right now.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't play it.
Listen, understand, learn, and unlearn. Those 4 words from our equity statement are the central drivers to what I do in the room day after day. How I collect, how I partner, how I program, and certainly how I grow as an individual.
I am honored to be part of our work in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and hoping that what we start today carries on into the future, because it really does touch every aspect of our organization.
History is the story of all Sacramentans. It's not set aside for the privileged or those with resources. It is the historical record of all of us.
Equity work is for everyone. It touches every aspect of our lives. And even though I might represent one demographic, my understanding and deeper study into this work is going to help everyone on staff better appreciate the work that needs to be done in order to be a successful organization.
That's great. And I also want to add, I know in the different supervisor districts, it seems like we have different, some of us have more of a certain ethnicity. Like I have a lot of Ukraine and Soviet, Iranian, but maybe there's more Asian people in one of the districts downtown. It's interesting, but the dynamics might be different in different branches. And so this work doesn't really divide it, or it doesn't really matter because we're pulling it together for everyone. So thank you very much for all your hard work on this, and we'll look forward to hearing more in the future.
I want to again say thank you to all of you and to our executive team. I know we have a lot of staff in Zoom who have supported the work, so thank you as well.
Good job.
We're going to pretend to go away and come back to the next agenda.
Okay, well, our next item is item 3.3, social work intern presentation. Sorry, I botched that.
So part of what came out of the culture surveys were actually not only from our staff, but from our communities, is concern about social services and how the library is involved within that and what we can do. And libraries are viewed as a safe space. And so one of the things that we were looking at was actually social work interns. And so the Public Library, PLA, Public Library Association, put together a social work task force in the summer of 2018. And since then, social work within public libraries has really grown. San Francisco actually hired their first full-time social worker in 2009. And since then, we have about 160 public library branches within the United States that have social work students as interns within public libraries. And if you break that down even further, there's about 76 libraries across the country that have a full-time or part-time social worker on staff now. And the reason for this is because libraries are seen as a safe space, one where information can be sought without barriers. Our communities are asking how libraries can assist with the community needs around social services. And one of the things we obviously are kind of looking at is how does Sacramento Public Library, having such a large community of those that are experiencing homelessness, what can we also do? And so we actually in this summer, we piloted our first social work intern project at the Central Library. And so we had 3 interns for 8 weeks, 2 times a day, 8 hours a day, and they made contact with 73 patrons in that short time period. And we currently have 2 social work interns still at the Central Library, continuing to make those connections. And they have been able to assist with SSI benefits. They've been able to assist with filling out job applications, creating email accounts, every type of thing that people are coming in the doors not exactly sure how to navigate. They have been able to give that one-on-one attention to these particular folks. And so we just wanted to share that this is a pilot. It's something that we hope will continue to grow and that we'll be able to spread to our other locations beyond Central. But we did want to start with Central Library for a reason, right? So that is currently where we are with our social work intern program. And all of this, again, came as part of our culture survey results and what the staff was asking for, and also what the community was asking our staff for. So we have another short video for you to enjoy.
Social workers play a very big role in the library in that they go beyond just what librarians are allowed to do.
I'm here this summer as a social work intern for Sacramento Public Library, part of their pilot program to see whether social work is a good role for the library.
The library is extremely supportive of individuals, all individuals, no matter what their economic background is. There are never 2 days the same.
My typical day usually starts with doing some research on different community resources that are out there that a patron might have needed.
The population or the need that we are filling is for individuals that don't have a social work services or case management services through their insurance, or there is lack of connection, meaning, the barriers are transportation.
The majority of the people who've come looking for help are homeless, and most of them are regulars here at the library and spend the majority of their day, if not just the afternoon, escaping the heat inside the library.
They vary in all ages, and we've seen a lot of needs in housing and medical areas, but there's also a need for transportation, basic human rights, but also certain instances in which the undocumented community is needing assistance.
Their primary need is mostly housing, as well as, there are a lot of barriers to getting housing, help with job applications, employment, helping them navigate the systems that they're working with because they're up against a lot of barriers. So we're just helping them put the pieces together and make sure they're following through. So that could be, making appointments, actually going to them. We have accompanied a few patrons to their appointments.
By having the walk-in services of a social worker here and offering any and all services that kind of wherever the patron is at. So basically we meet the patron at the needs that they present with.
I've encountered a good handful of people who also speak Spanish, mainly refugee seekers or asylum seekers, as well as immigrants, permanent residents. Their vocabulary sometimes isn't up to par with that of legal documents.
The library has a program where the Sacramento Downtown Community Partners come in and actually work with patrons. It's a drop-in type session that goes on from 11 to 1. And I've been able to link patrons to those services.
Libraries are safe havens for children who don't always have that space at home. I think especially, and that's where I see a need, and I haven't been able to see that need as much here, maybe just because the location, since there aren't as many houses around here or the neighborhood, but I can definitely see that extending to other branches.
There's a patron here who I've been, I'm only here 2 days a week, but I think I've spoken to him pretty much every day. It started with, he was looking for housing and kind of, I think, established trust with me and my fellow interns. We received a call that a spot was available for him in the shelter that he specifically wanted. Out of all the shelters in Sacramento, there was only one that he felt comfortable going into. And they called him and said that they had a spot there. And he was just super happy. And
an elderly man who's 79 years old, speaks broken English, maybe has some difficulties communicating with folks beyond just language barriers, but has difficulty understanding the legality and terminology of all the different processes here in the US. So far, I've been able to start from scratch and understand what his needs are, and that's been to collect his SSI benefits.
The person I'd love to share about is a gentleman who has been homeless. He says, I come to the library because it's a cool place. I don't bother anyone. I read my book. At the end of the day, I go back out. And the individuals who work at the library were very adamant that this person kind of be seen as somebody who was really deserving of a lot of attention and care. And we have made a change. This gentleman is on a path.
That's only the first step on his journey to improving his life and getting a better grounding underneath him.
Wow. I'm going to jump in real quick. The very first intern who spoke was wearing a pink shirt. They mentioned that this program would benefit other locations. When I worked at the Colonial Heights Library, she was part of the teen advisory board there. So being able to see that full circle connection and seeing how community is coming up, it's to serve community to help. It's the reason why I became a librarian. So I have to share that.
That's amazing. I'm curious, do the interns receive any kind of training relating to navigator training? Because it sounds like a lot that might benefit their work also.
Yeah, so we actually are working with a consultant who works in the public defender's office and has training. And so they do training with them for a week before they begin. And they do weekly check-ins every week to see how their case management is going and such. So they receive continuous training from the consultant, who is their field supervisor.
Right.
And Chair Frost, these are student interns enrolled in a social work program. So this is part of their education as well.
And I imagine it's a huge benefit to them too. It's like a win-win because they're getting experience that they can use in their career. Yeah. Director Mabel.
Thank you, Chair. How incredible. I think this is one of the things I love the most about the library is that really seeing a need and then putting it into action. I see that a lot in various programs that the library provides where it's really that simple sometimes when you see someone who needs something, who needs help, just being willing to step up and help them navigate that process. I did want to say, obviously homelessness is something that is impacting our communities all over Sacramento. It's not just a Sacramento problem. It's happening all over the United States of America, but it's really pronounced in places like here where we lack affordable housing and other needs. But I would just say whatever data that comes out of this program, maybe over time, please do share that with the other jurisdictions because as we develop our programming, we have policy conversations all the time about what do we do? How do we address these issues? And having more information can only better that. And so I certainly would be interested in seeing, what are people saying are the biggest challenges? What are people saying are the biggest needs? I can make some guesses, but I think it's always good to have that information. So thank you. I really appreciate this update.
I don't see any other directors in the queue unless there's someone online that I'm not seeing. Nobody online. And do we have any public comment on this item? And so I just want to thank both of you for your work, and we'll be cheering from behind the scenes as you continue to grow your efforts and expand them within the library system.
Thank you. We want to say thank you again for letting us present.
Thank you. Our next item is 3.4 update on Building Forward Infrastructure Grant Program. Good afternoon, Jared.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Waiting for my presentation to come up. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Jared Keller, Deputy Director here of Support Services at Sacramento Public Library. And today I'll be providing an update on the award status of the Building Forward Infrastructure Grant Program. This is a library building maintenance program that was made available through the California State Library. I will also provide project status on those projects that have been awarded to the libraries and where they are in their current state. Today, I am joined by Don Merks, who's from Group 4 Architecture and Planning, who's in the audience. I'm also joined by Samuel Grimm from the City of Elk Grove. He is the project manager for the Elk Grove Library Retrofit Project. And after I'm done with my presentation, Don will go ahead and provide us a little update on where the Elk Grove project is today. Okay, so a little bit about the Building Forward Infrastructure Grant Program. It is the largest single investment that California has ever done in its public library facilities. The library, so in California, we have 184 library jurisdictions, of which Sacramento is a library jurisdiction, others are, and there's over 1,127 buildings. The California State Library estimates that there is over $5 billion in maintenance, repair, and renovation that need to be done to California public library buildings. So that's pretty significant. Thanks to the efforts of the California State Library, the legislature, and the governor, the Building Forward Infrastructure Grant Program was put into place 2 years ago. It is a $489 million equity-based grant program. It pays for critical maintenance needs, improved energy efficiency, sustainability, extends digital access at facilities, as well as expanding physical access to those facilities. Jurisdictions were allowed to apply for grants up to $10 million, but of course there was also a cash match tied to that, and that varied per jurisdiction. Funding was prioritized for projects in high poverty areas. And the California State Library used what's called the California Poverty Measure. And this is a very different measure that has been used in the past. In the past, grants have been awarded under what's called local income per capita. So a little bit about the California Poverty Measure is it accounts for necessary expenditures like childcare and out-of-pocket health costs, adjust for geographic differences in housing costs. It includes the credits, food assistance, and other non-cash benefits in the resources available to help families meet their needs. So this really does a comprehensive account of really what is the true measure of poverty in an area. So there was a couple application phases, which we have reported to the board in the past. The first was in March of 22 and the second in May of 2023. What made this grant process very different is that the jurisdictions that own the buildings were required to apply, not the libraries. The library worked very closely with the jurisdictions, especially a terrific partnership with the city of Sacramento and the city of Elk Grove. So the grant awards themselves was a very, sorry, let me go back here. Sorry, I jumped ahead. So the state library conducted a very deliberate and exhaustive application process and review process. There were no one in California actually was on the evaluation committee. It consisted of state librarians from other states as well as other professionals who evaluated those applications. All funds for awards have to be phase 1 complete in March of 2026 and phase 2 in March of 2027. So Sacramento was incredibly successful in receiving awards in this program. So this is a high-level summary that was reported to the board back in October of 2022. And in subsequent slides, I'll provide some additional detail about the projects. What's important to note is the city of Elk Grove received over $4.4 million in round 1. City of Sacramento, over $7.8 million, and the county of Sacramento, $2.7 million. And you'll see that there is an associated cash match that was associated with these projects. In addition, there was round 2, which has just been awarded. There were 3 libraries, there were 3 jurisdictions that applied: the city of Galt, city of Sacramento, county of Sacramento. Unfortunately, city of Galt and county of Sacramento did not receive awards for this due to their relatively low California poverty measure. Now, there is a possibility that after round 2 is finished awarding, the California State Library may come back and take a look and award projects. But of most importance is the city of Sacramento received an additional $7.2 million grant. And I'll tell you a little more details about that and how exciting it is for us. So follows is a list of projects that were approved for the city of Sacramento for phase 1. So I want to call your attention to the Bell Coolidge Library, major library repairs there. Most specifically, it is going to repair the falling brick on the building, which has been a health and safety hazard. That project is programmed and will start early next year. The Central Library, I could go on for hours about the infrastructure deficiencies we have at the Central Library, but there's some progress being made by the city of Sacramento, specifically major repairs to the elevator, HVAC, and roof. I do want to call out the elevators. The Central Library has the most used public elevators in the city of Sacramento. They get more use than any other facilities. These elevators have reached end of life. We are now down to 1 of 2 public elevators. Our most reliable elevator has failed. It could be weeks before parts arrive. Should the other elevator fail, we may be forced to close the library to the public. So I just wanted to let the board know that. We're working very closely with the city of Sacramento, but they really do need to expedite the elevator replacement project. The Del Paso Heights Library is in the process of having its roof repaired, and we're most excited about the Martin Luther King Jr. Library, which received over $5.5 million for a rebuild and a retrofit. We're very excited about that. Group 4, who is also here today, will be working on that project. Now, I said there was a little excitement. So earlier this month, the city of Sacramento received notification that they received a grant for $7.2 million to retrofit the former Sacramento News and Review building into the new North Sacramento Hagenwood Library. This is a very, very exciting project, and it's much needed. The North Sacramento Hagenwood community their library has been operating out of a little storefront for the last 20 plus years, and it's about time that they had a real library that can meet all of their needs. So we're very excited about that. So County of Sacramento projects are a little more straightforward. In all honesty, County of Sacramento has done a little bit more for deferred maintenance on their buildings than, say, the city of Sacramento. So their projects are pretty much characterized in ADA enhancements, such as public path of travel, HVAC, roof replacements, and alarm modifications. And so those are all scheduled for the Art Endemic Libraries, Carmichael Library, North Highlands Antelope, Southgate Library, Sylvan Oaks Library, and the Walnut Grove Library.
Excuse me, Jared.
Yes.
Vice Chair Talamantes had a question.
I can wait till the end. That's okay.
Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
All right. So it's at this point that I'm going to hand over to Dawn Merks from Group for Architecture and Planning. She's going to talk about the Elk Grove Library. Now, out of all of the projects that have been funded by the Building Port Infrastructure Grant Program, the Elk Grove Library has had the most progress. And I really want to call out the city of Elk Grove for making this a priority. So now Dawn's going to go ahead and talk to us about the project.
Thank you, Jared. Good afternoon, everyone, members of the board, Madam Chair. Dawn Merkus with Group for Architecture. Pleasure to be here and give you an update on the Elk Grove Library. As you may recall, the Elk Grove Library has outgrown its current location in Old Town. The city and the library has partnered together, and the city has purchased the old Rite Aid building on Elk Grove Boulevard, just over 18,000 square feet, constructed in 2013. And we are currently in the process of designing the relocated library. Where we are in the process is we've completed conceptual design as well as schematic design, actually engaged the community quite a lot with online surveys, in-person intercepts, and focus groups in trying to determine the exact program for the building, currently in design development and moving quickly into construction documents. As we look at the overall schedule, starting in November, we will go into construction documents. We will be ready to go out to bid June and July of next year, and then about a year of construction. So opening up all of 2025. Thank you. Math on the camera is not always easy. In terms of the building program, an 18,000 square feet can really provide a lot of different spaces for all the different people in the community, in addition to the collection. So in addition to the entry with the self-checkouts, the hold pickups, service point, group study spaces, children's spaces, marketplace, bookstore, which is our new and popular collection, as well as collaborative spaces like the incubator space, spaces for teens, spaces for children, spaces for adults, and a very nice large program space, meeting room that I know the whole community is excited about, in addition to the library. Looking at the floor plan, this is our 18,000 square foot floor plan. On the right side of the plan is Elk Grove Boulevard. On the bottom is Waterman Way. And it's a very busy intersection in the city. So very nice, prominent location. To the right of the slide here is north. We have our entry space as you come into the building. Directly in front of you is the teen space, kind of prime real estate where they like to be. Additional group study rooms are directly adjacent to that. Then we have the children's space through the portal there. The marketplace is that new and popular collection. Additional collaboration rooms shown there in pink. We have a passport office, which I know the library is moving away from, but I think the city is very interested in trying to provide passport services potentially, or another group study room. The Friends of the Library workspace is down there in the bottom. Adult space. And then as we move to the back of the building, which is really interesting, is we have an incubator space, which is above the staff space. And then we have kind of this suite of meeting spaces, which includes the meeting room, the restroom, and the incubator space. which all can be accessed independently after hours from the exterior, and they're complemented with exterior spaces and with independent access to restrooms as well, really providing a lot more flexibility for operations. Working closely with the library and the city staff, really wanted to develop a party for the project, reflects its location, the history of Elk Grove, and kind of the context of the building. So one of the themes that has been highlighted as we've developed the interiors for the project is a concept of Old Town, past, present, and future. As we look at the material and color palette for the interiors of the building, working off of our warm palette of colors on the right from the blue and these kind of very warm tones, which are the basis of the building, interior finishes, then being complemented with these rich accent colors. And then just additional conceptual thematic schemes that have been developed and are really being celebrated in the design. As we come in, we talked about the teen space. Well, that's called the entertainment zone as part of Old Town. The Delta for the children's kind of flora and fauna being celebrated there. As we go to the adult area, kind of the hub. Main Street is where our new popular collection is. And then Town Hall is the collaborative program spaces. One of the pieces of public art that's currently located in the existing building is going to be carried over is this lovely existing art glass window. Really highlighting this artist, pulling this piece of artwork along with the library to its new location. It'll be, I think current thought is to locate it in the east elevation, part of the adult space. And some updated, refreshed elevations of the existing building are shown here. And then one of the things that I skipped over in the floor plan was the library of things. So really being able to provide, in addition to books and digital collection, a library of things. This will be located directly off of the lobby area. And then the storage shed for that will be along the back property line that I'll show you in just a minute here. So right here on this site plan, we have Elk Grove Boulevard on the top, Waterman Road along the bottom. The current access is at the entry of the corner there where the little red dots are shown. Children's outdoor space right outside the children's area, enclosed fence with seat walls is shown there in the right-hand corner on the bottom. And then those public spaces, the community meeting room up at the top is being complemented with outdoor space as well. Enclosed for additional program space use. There is a location for a future book walker and canopy covering. And then you can see the pathway to the back of the parking lot there where the shed is for the library of things for additional storage. And then additional support spaces off of Waterman Way. And one of the things I know the community is going to be extremely happy about is a very functional and large parking lot, which is one of the biggest challenges right now. And so just as we're looking at that outdoor meeting area, looking at the program space, interior is complemented with this lovely exterior outdoor space, using market lights, wall seating, things like that to make it very flexible and functional for both the library and the community. And then moving to the corner where the children's space is, in addition to some seat walls, there is some brick paving accents as well as external furniture and a very creative, very nice kind of art fence that will be used to enclose it as well. And then one of the opportunities for public art, which I think we'll be working with the City Art Committee on, is replacing the existing fountain that's kind of at the prominent corner of Elk Grove Boulevard and Waterman Road. And that concludes our presentation.
Wow, what a beautiful amenity. Beautiful design. Vice Chair Talamantes.
I'm really excited to see the Del Paso Library getting funding.
Yes.
Prior to serving on this board as a council member, I was an alternate for Supervisor Phil Cerno as a SCOE trustee. And I went to a lot of those conversations in the community of what they would like to see. and it's finally happening. So it's really exciting to see it happen. And I think that the community, it's going to be a highly visited traffic library in terms of the number of people that go there. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, staff have worked really hard in converting the space, as well as this additional funding that's been provided by the grant is even making the space better.
We did really well. We did really well with writing the grant.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a lot of money.
Yeah, so Sacramento was one of the highest funded library systems out of everyone. So there's over $22 million that was headed towards Sacramento Public Library for facilities. So we're very proud of it. We worked very well with the jurisdictions and we wrote some incredible applications. So we're very proud of that.
Congratulations. And I also want to congratulate Elk Grove because I'm hearing rumors. They must be really busy over there in Elk Grove. I'm hearing rumors about the new zoo over there. I saw pictures just at my Rotary Club. They gave a presentation about the zoo, and this library is amazing. Your design and everything, the colors and the way you've laid it out, it's going to be wonderful for the community. So congratulations to Sacramento, who needs it, really needs the funding badly. So that's really exciting for Sacramento on several levels. So thank you so much for the update. I don't see any other hands raised online or in the chambers. I don't know if there's any public comment on this item. There is not. So thank you, Dawn. And also I want to thank Samuel for being here, and congratulations to all the award recipients. Okay, now our next item, I'm going to just see if the friends are here. I don't believe I see anyone who normally presents for the Friends of the Library, so we'll just assume there's no report today. And our next item is number 4, our executive team report.
Thank you, Chair Frost, members of the board. And I will just continue the theme and thank our excellent staff who assisted in these reports. I know Jared and our facilities team worked very hard with our city and county partners to apply for these grants, and we're really appreciative of their hard work and the collaboration. The next item that we are focusing on internally is our strategic plan. And we have had a number of conversations in the community with community leaders, residents, library users, and we have included in the packet some 5 strategic priorities that came from those conversations. And the next phase in that is to continue to develop the plans around those. And so we're going to be involving some staff in that. This plan, we did a little backwards than we've done in the past. We started with talking to the community first, and we took the community feedback to the staff versus staff going out, because we really want to hear from the community what needs we can meet. We as librarians know what issues happen every day in the library, what issues our customers are facing when they come in, but that's just what they're asking us about. And we don't know what they're not asking or what they need that we're not providing. And so the conversations really are highlighting how the library can help the community. And so we're really excited about those priorities. And so we'll be doing some additional work and hope to have a plan to the board in February. Is our plan to have a strategic plan presented then. So we'll keep you updated, but for now, the teaser are the 5 goals that are included in the packet, and we'll talk more about those in February.
Great, and thank you for your leadership and prioritizing. Obviously, the library is for the community, so it makes our job easier if we know what the community needs. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay. And does that conclude your report?
There are a couple of minor items in the report I'll just direct your attention to. Piggybacking off of our focus on equity, diversity, inclusion, accessibility. We did have some programming this last month for Latino Heritage Month, and we've also been implementing a state grant that we got from the state library to encourage STEAM among our youth, especially those who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And that's been a very successful program that was really innovative that our staff have put together. So we're excited to do that. And then the other item is that last week was National Friends of the Library Week, and we really appreciate the work that our friends do. And we've been doing some tours of the library for our Friends members on a monthly basis. And we held one of those tours last week and had a number of friends come and see the work that the library does and what their volunteer and funding efforts help support, which was really nice for them to see the fruits of their labor, and they really appreciated that. So we're happy to continue that partnership with the Friends, and we are really looking forward to continuing that work with them in the coming year. And that will conclude my report. I think we've said quite a bit today, and there's a lot that we have to digest from all the presentations. I'm happy to answer any question you guys might have from those things.
Thank you, Peter. Do we have any questions from no one in-house? How about online? Oh, I'm sorry. Director Lefkowitz.
Thank you. Well, first I want to say I really like the 5 strategies in the strategic plan. They resonated with me a lot. And the social worker presentation fit very nicely in the direction that you're going in the strategic plan. I wanted to just share with the board here and with staff that I have been involved with a group of advocates who are working around the topic of youth in the foster care system. And one of the strategies that we've been talking about is creating hubs in the community for foster youth where they could go to get access to social workers, to employment, to health access, to basically whatever they need. And the library keeps coming up as a place for hubs. So I wanted to share that with you as you go forward thinking about the strategic direction. And I don't know if you've had any conversations with young people in our foster care system, but I just wanted to share that. I just saw some synergy there. So, yeah.
That's a great idea. Were you having that conversation with the county staff, or?
Yeah, they have been present, as well as just several, like a bunch of community advocates who are looking at actually fostering homeless youth, trying to come up with some ideas to help them.
We need to do everything we can, especially for those that are reaching the age of adult.
Right.
They need all the resources we can give them. So that's great.
Director Lefkowitz, we'll definitely connect, because there are a lot of synergies, and that fits very well with a number of those priorities. We'll be happy to have that conversation.
Yeah, thank you very much. Anyone else? I don't see any other hands raised online, and is there any public comment on this item? And did you have anything else, Peter? Or
no, Chair Frost, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. You guys have been busy. Okay, our next item is item 5, information, and we have our monthly financial report. I see Johnny Yee up in the building here. Also our monthly treasurer's report and our building forward infrastructure grant program. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding the informational items? Seeing none, and I don't believe there's any public comment on that, we'll move on to the next item, which is consent. And I'll entertain questions or a motion for approval for consent. Thank you.
Second. Third.
So we have Vice Chair Talamontes moved it, and Director Gatewood second. And if the clerk would call the roll, please.
All right, Sean Laloe, Karina Talamontes.
Yes.
Katie Valenzuela, Katie Maple,
Yes.
Mai Vang, Phil Cerna, Patrick Kennedy, Rich Desmond, Sue Frost,
Aye.
Pat Hume, Mary Jane Lopez Taft, Rod Brewer.
Yes.
Kevin Spees.
He doesn't have a microphone.
Sean Farmer, Garrett Gatewood.
Aye.
Lisa Kaplan, Noel Mora, Vina Lekovich,
Yes.
Saul Hernandez,
Aye.
Jennifer Larrett,
Aye.
Horst Middleton, Sergio Robles, Linda Budge. Motion passes with 8 members present.
Thank you. And our next, we don't have any action items today. Do we have any reports, ideas, questions from board members?
Rancho would like a library. Just so when you're doing your study, Rancho would like a library.
Thank you, Director Gatewood. We'll make a note of that.
We have nothing.
We'll all make a note of that. Okay.
I have no microphone.
Sounds like you've got some work to do then.
We're getting, the Indians are getting restless. There being no further business before the board, this meeting is adjourned at 4:15 p.m.
Why don't we tell about how nice